All right, everyone. So, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. So, today I have Kathryn Porritt. She is a world's leading strategist in luxury marketing and branding. Welcome to the podcast, Kathryn. Happy to have
Yes.
you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Keisha. Great to be here.
Yes. So she's also an entrepreneur and she's got a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to get all up into her business tonight.
It sounds like fun. That's great.
Yeah. So let's start by talking about what was your major in college?
Oh, great question. So I actually studied journalism and international relations. My intention was to be a journalist, an investigative. I can't even get that out. A journalist on the road doing investigative work. There you go. And it didn't quite turn out that way.
Wow. So what took you in another direction? Was it just life? Was it a job that sucked? Like what happened? High level.
I think, high level. I think I just realized that journalism wasn't really for me because it lacked creativity. It's very much fact-based, and what I actually really loved more was the creative side of communication. And so I morphed into doing more communication work and marketing, and then found that really, really cool, and loved the idea of meshing communication with strategy and outcome, and realized I was actually pretty good at making money and doing business. So that's kind of led me where I am today. So yeah, great question. Very cool question.
Wow. So what was your first marketing and branding position? And how did you kind of work your way up in that position? Did you like go from company to company, or did you go with one company and then realize, hey, I'm going to go off and do my own thing? Or how did that happen for you?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I was lucky enough when I made the decision to morph into more communications, PR, marketing. I was lucky enough to win an award, like it was a state award here, that I was, the best student of marketing and PR in the state. And so I was lucky enough to win that, which actually gave me the impetus to get in front of some really big companies. So I was lucky enough that my first role was with a very large shopping center company, what you would call a mall company, across in the States. And so I worked with them on actually the largest shopping center in Australia, the largest mall in Australia at the time, in their marketing department. And it was fantastic because I got to do events, I got to do community management, I got to do B2B marketing, so we're managing the merchants as well as the community and traffic, and I was doing media stuff. It was like the full general experience in marketing and PR. And then when you're in that world, it's one of those industries that you can travel with, and you are kind of moved around to different projects based on your capacity and your capabilities. So I was lucky enough then to stay with that company and move all around. And that's where I ended up moving to some other states and getting some experience across the board. Didn't really want to stay in shopping centres or malls for the rest of my life, or real estate, but gee, it was a great experience. I can't, when I think back to the things I got to do, I got to do like massive movie premieres. We had George Clooney and Alicia Silverstone. I did a big movie premiere here in Australia I did a whole heap of book launches. I hung out with Harry Connick Jr. doing stuff when he was here doing some, when the record labels used to bring them around to malls. So it was an extraordinary experience. I can't thank that industry enough for sort of getting me going. Yeah.
Wow, that's so amazing. You're so lucky.
Yeah.
I have and I know my audience is like, girl, we tired of hearing about your damn fake career. Like, but I had like this small stint in PR, right? I went back to school, got my master's in communications, and I had always wanted to be in public relations. And when I got into it, it just didn't work out for me like that,
Yeah, it's
even though I
funny, right?
worked hard and I really wanted it, but
Yeah.
things didn't happen for me like how they happened for you, which is like, I always believe what's supposed to happen for you kind of aligns. And yeah, so
Oh, the universe has totally got your back. If you're open to it and you don't try and force things or push back on it,
yeah.
I absolutely believe that all of that experience for you was all meant to be. And there was a real good reason for it, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
when did you step out on your own and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So when a lot of women do it, which is so I'd up till my late 20s, mid to late 20s, I was moving around with the malls, and then I was lucky enough to move to Australia's capital, Canberra, to do a big project there, and I met my husband. And so I stayed in Canberra, and it was at that moment I was on maternity leave, and my dad has a business, my grandfather, my uncle, I come from this family of business owners, and I always knew at some point I was going to do my own thing. But it was that moment in time when I was pregnant with Penny, my daughter now, who's 16, that I made the arrangement with my husband and just said, listen, this is the moment for me to give this a try when I'm on maternity leave for 12 months. We get 12 months maternity leave in Australia. That moment, well, I know, isn't it great? You guys have got to catch up to us. But that moment in time, so many women take that minute to be a mum, but also to try something, pivot and give their side hustle or their entrepreneurial career a go. I was lucky enough that it worked really, really well. And I actually, what the company that I started when I was pregnant with Penelope turned into one of the biggest e-commerce companies in Australia, and was lucky enough to just be at the cutting edge of innovation and e-commerce at the time, and just had an absolute blast. So I had that company for 9.5 years, but it was in that moment of maternity leave, and I've got this one little window and I've got to make it happen. And because I'm being a new mum too, I've got these tiny little windows of time to dedicate to it. I've got to make them efficient, effective, and really work. So it's probably the best place to start that I could imagine.
So what was it that you were selling in that business?
Yeah. So we were doing wedding and party supplies, and there wasn't anything like this. So imagine 16 years ago. There's no Shopify. There's no, WooCommerce. All of those. You just decide I'm going to start an e-commerce company today and an online shop, and you just go and you start one, and it's 5 minutes. We're literally coding that site. There was none of that sort of thing around at that time. So what I wanted to do, I could see an opportunity for pretty things, which is, I like playing with pretty things, and parties, weddings, those sorts of things. There just was nothing online at the time. So it seemed to me that there was a lot of really beautiful stuff coming out of Europe and America, and we didn't have access to it over here in Australia and New Zealand. So that's where I started, was importing. And then from there, what we did was we started personalizing. So again, we were doing this sort of thing that Minted and those guys are doing now. We were personalizing invitations and favors and all sorts of things, which was brand new at the time and ridiculously fun. So I got to have the combination of creativity and beauty and business, and mesh those, business and technology, mesh those two things together. And I had a blast, real blast.
Oh, so
Yeah.
why did you exit that?
Yeah, so my kids have grown up in that. I've got two kids who are 14 and 16 now. And at the time it was 9.5 years in, and it had grown really fast, and the momentum was continuing. I had taken on investors, and it had changed the face of what we were doing. It had turned less into a fun business. It's got nothing to do with them. It was just the decision that I made at the time was, I want to grow this. And the way to do that is to take on some equity partners, not really understanding what that meant, that the creativity was going to be stifled slightly, because when you take on investors, it's all about the bottom line. and less about the, you know, the sort of creative energy of the founder. And so, um, so it was great, but I just went, you know what, the fun's not in this for me anymore. My kids have grown up in this, and I haven't spent a lot of time, as much time as I would like to, with them. So I was lucky enough that we secured a buyer for that business. I know a lot of business owners are not, again, lucky enough, and I keep saying that word, but I really think I was just open to opportunities as they arose, and or I made them happen. So we put it out there and said, you know what, this isn't working. This is a fast growing company. Let's put it on the market. We secured a buyer pretty quickly, and I was able to exit that. And then was like, well, okay, now what do I do that's based around my kids and based around my lifestyle? And I was in a very privileged position to really pick and choose what I wanted to do from there. And that's how this was born, which is a very different business to my first one, really different.
Okay, so take us
Yeah.
to that business. What is it? What are you doing? Tell us.
Yeah. I say to my clients now that, and I hope this sparks something fun for your listeners. When you create a business without any desperation whatsoever, I created this business. I didn't need the money. I didn't need the clients. I didn't need to do it. I just wanted to do it. I desired it. It was built out of passion. When you can put yourself in that mindset, which is hard to do, if you can put yourself in that mindset, it's incredible what you can create. And so I really created this business just for fun for me. And what we did was, or what I did is create a business called, at the time, Business Bravery. We've rebranded to Icons Incorporated now. But it was about supporting the most extraordinary entrepreneurs and helping them leverage their personal brand to create really big commercial opportunities. So I knew I was really good at branding, really good at online environment and bringing people to the world. And I was also really, really, really good at making the money and seeing opportunities that they couldn't see for themselves. So it became a really momentous boutique agency that looks after some of the biggest names in the personal brand space. And we represent them. So we do their branding, we get them all set up online, and then we commercialize that influence for them by doing their commercial deals and taking them to the world. So it's super fun. I get to play with the most extraordinary people. I get to have fun every day. They're my mates. And we're also changing their lives and changing all of the people that they support as well. It's really fun.
Wow. So, what would you say is the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when launching their business?
The biggest mistake. So most of the people that I work with are real visionaries, and they know that they're extraordinary at what they do. The biggest mistake those people make, I would say, is twofold. Number one, they're expecting perfection, so they can't, what we call the prison of excellence. They get into this prison of excellence and they can't get themselves out of it. And they're just, I can't launch this until I've lost this 5 pounds, or I've got my tooth fixed, or I've, you know, the website looks incredible, or I nail my blah, blah, blah. Get out of that big time, because the amazingness is in the messiness. And then number two, it's not producing your revolution. So the thing that really, really upsets me more than anything else is seeing someone with so much potential and so much vision, but they're not prepared to do the work. They think that it's just a magical manifestation and it just happens. I've created many, many multi-million dollar companies, both my own and for my clients. And in every single occasion, the person who is the leader in that company has worked until their fingers have bled. There's no getting around it. They have worked really hard and they've turned up when it didn't feel great. They kept showing up because their mission was much bigger than their ego. And, you know, that was so important to them that they produced the revolution, is the way that I couch that. So I would say it's those things. Get out of perfectionism, really, really important, which leads to procrastination and this prison of excellence that you can never get out of and you'll never get it done. Or number two, just thinking it's going to magically happen without you actually having to do the laborious work.
Yeah, they're crazy when they think that.
True.
So when you set out to launch a brand that portrays prestige, can I speak? What should the goal be? So you're saying this brand is prestigious. This is prestigious, right?
Mhm.
What should the goal be though? Like what should you be really thinking about how this is going to play out or who it's going to appeal to? I'm really trying to ask you, like, I think a lot of people want to have a prestigious brand, right? But maybe it's
Yeah.
not really checking all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
set out to, because everything is not prestigious, there are other brands that
Of
are,
course.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us, prestige, what boxes need to be checked for that?
Yeah. Okay, great. Really interesting question. So when people think, this is my experience with luxury brands and people thinking, okay, I'm selling at high ticket or whatever, and I really want to be selling at a bigger price point. They're worried about the price point and not about the pioneering. And what I mean by that is a luxury brand gets away with charging the prices that they charge because there's a series of steps that they've taken that enable them to charge whatever they want to charge. So for my clients, I say to them that there is no cap on the price. I've got clients that are selling $50 million deals, $63 million deals, $1 million deals just to work with them as a one-on-one client. Those numbers are meaningless, really. There is no cap on those numbers. If they can set themselves up in a particular way. And that's these laws of luxury that most luxury brands adhere to that allow them to charge those prices. And the number one thing that most, I would call this a mainstream brand, which is what most of us understand when we talk about business strategy or marketing. Most of what's taught at university, most business strategists will talk about how to run a mainstream brand. 95% of the market fits into this. What you do is you go, okay, well, I like doing this and I want to work with this type of person. And so you go talk to those people and you listen to them, do some market research, and you figure out where's the gap in, what do they want? Where's the gap in the market? You look at your competition and you do a SWOT analysis and you go, well, here's the gap in the market. Here are the price points, here's what people are willing to pay, and then you go aggressively compete and you try and find some differentiation point. That's mainstream marketing's great brands built around that. Amazon, I had one myself. But when you're looking at a luxury market, it's the antithesis of that. It's a top-down approach. And so you're working with less people at a deeper and more potent way, but it's all about you as the trendsetter. So Chanel can get away with, charging the prices that they charge because everything they're putting out into the market is completely unique. It's trend setting. It's ahead of the game. It's the pointy end. So what you have to do first is establish yourself as the extreme pioneer in your niche, and that is not looking at everyone else and not asking your market, because your market doesn't know what it doesn't know. When you're the extreme pioneer, you're the inventor. So start there. Are you that type of person? It doesn't suit everyone. If you are that type of person and you like the idea of being constantly innovating and creating, and you like the idea of working with people at the highest end of the market, then create a magical world around that. Then invite the people in who you want to play with in that world, and then create a product or products or services that align with that really serve that magical world. Then prices are irrelevant. You can charge, like I said, I've got clients charging $63 million for a deal. The reason they can get away with that is because they are the most prestigious, person in their space. They're the innovator. People will pay anything to be around them. And they attract these absolutely extraordinary people as a consequence of that. Yeah. Does that
Perfect.
make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
the goal is to make sure that you are the trendsetter. You are the,
Yep.
the epitome of the
Yeah.
world, that you're creating. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
It's Chanel versus Zara, right? What's the
Right.
difference? Zara just, it's a great business, but it's copying what Chanel just created. Then Chanel needs to keep creating, and that's fine. They're okay with that. It just is what it is. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like your clients, or do your clients sell products? Do they sell their time? Do they sell, like, what is your client base?
Yeah. So I work with personal brands, full stop. I work with the most elite personal brands in any space. So they can sell products, they can sell services, they can be authors, speakers, athletes, entertainers. I don't discriminate on what vertical they belong to. What I do care about is that they are the most elite person in their space, or they know that there's the potential to be that, and they just need a strategy around that to achieve it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at you, girl. You better go.
It's fun. It's fun.
I'm sure it is. And you're so good at it. So, have you ever had a client that you knew didn't have the luxury, je ne sais quoi, but they thought they did? Have you ever had someone like that? And if you did, how did you navigate that? What'd you do?
Yeah, so it happens all the time. And I've got no judgment about this whatsoever, because the really good part of my journey is that I've had a really good mainstream business, a very, very successful mainstream business, and a very, very successful luxury business. So I can see pretty quickly where you fit either one or the other. And there's no no judgment from me whatsoever as to which one of those two models fit you best.
Mhm.
What generally will happen under those circumstances is someone in the mainstream who's got a pretty good mainstream business likes the idea of the pricing structure of a luxury business, but they're not willing to do the iconic work, which is actually, it's pretty brave work that you do when you put yourself out there as an extreme pioneer and innovator. It's the sort of Elon Musk type of person that I'm looking for. And so it could be Brené Brown type of person, or Oprah, but they're the real leaders and innovators and the movers and the shakers. That doesn't suit everyone. And so if it's just the price that's the motivating factor, generally what I'll say to them is be a premium brand in the mainstream industry. If you just look at car brands, it's the difference between, you don't have to be a Toyota in the mainstream. You can be Lexus. That's totally fine. Go be a Lexus, which is a premium brand, but it still uses the principle of the mainstream model, where it is, still just elevating from looking at your competition and filling gaps. But if you want to be a real innovator, you're a real Maserati type of, Bugatti sort of brand. I don't know why I use cars, because I don't know anything about them, but you know what I mean? If you want to be that true innovator and work at the highest end of the market, then so for me, if someone comes to me and I can smell it's just about the money and not about the impact and the pioneering, it's a very gentle conversation around. There's some great people who can teach you how to be a premium brand. Awesome people. But if you want to be a luxury brand, let's have a conversation. Yeah.
Kathryn, you don't have time
Yeah.
for games, huh, girl?
I don't. I really don't.
Love it. So, what are your thoughts on the current entrepreneurial trend? Like, everyone is pushing this, go be an entrepreneur, go be an entrepreneur. And I think it's great, but I also think it's a little scary because everybody's not an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5. Like, you started with a 9 to 5, and that kind of
Yeah.
gave you the foundation for where you are today, right? And I
Mhm.
have a 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you say to people, who are hearing that, if you're not an entrepreneur, you're a loser or whatever? Like, what do you think about this whole space that we're in right now?
Oh gosh, if someone's saying that to you, then don't ever speak to them again. That's
No, don't
awful.
say that
That's
to me.
terrible.
No, 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 no.
but I get the gist of what you're saying. There is this real culture at the moment where the media is sort of painting this picture that it's side hustle or bust, right? So, and I fully agree with you that there is a certain, Keisha, there's a certain kind of person who's a great entrepreneur, and there's certain people that it's totally okay to work for people and be a part of a mission or a journey. You know, so many people have come to me over time and thought, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. And before I was really clear on who my client, best client was, I would oftentimes let them into our programs. And then some of those great people ended up working for me because the things that they didn't enjoy about entrepreneurship was the level of responsibility, mainly is the thing. So, and what I mean by that is not that they don't like taking responsibility or they don't like doing things to a really good standard, or they don't have they're not excellent at what they do. They can be all of those things. But there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with owning a business that is really weighty. And that's around, paying your taxes and making sure that you've got sales and that you've got your marketing dialed in and that you've got your payments dialed in. And when you start bringing employees in, you're responsible for their children and food on their table. And there's a weightiness to that for some people is a motivator, and for other people is terrifying. And so there's nothing wrong with choosing the lifestyle of, I just really like working for and being a part of a mission and part of a team, versus I want to be the leader of. I've got no judgment at all. You just choose your place and go for it. It's why we're all different. And I love that. It's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is so perfectly said. Like, guys, just figure out where you fit in, and we're not all leaders. We're just not, and it's okay to be a worker bee, and it's okay to be a part of someone else's dream. There's nothing wrong with that. So completely. I just kind of wanted to put that out there because I really feel like there's a lot of pressure on people.
Oh yeah. No, you don't have to do that. Absolutely. You do you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's next for you professionally? Are you still loving what you're doing, or do you see yourself phasing out this part of your business and doing something different? Like, tell us, Kathryn, we want the scoop.
Oh, I'll give you the scoop. Well, actually, it's really exciting to me. And it's just a very small tweak. And that is that agency, which is the backbone of our business, has transformed from a retainer model where people would come to us and say, hey, listen, I want to invest with you for you to do these services for me. So that retainer model, to now I'm actually only taking clients on that I partner with. And what I mean by that is I am literally an investor in my clients' companies. And so this was a really big thing for me over the last 12 months, where I realized that I was getting deeply involved in my clients' businesses, and they were asking me to do more and more, and I was wanting to do more and more with them. And I thought, well, geez, why am I doing this as a strategist? Why not build turn it into effectively my investment arm? And so now my clients are my partners and we have businesses together. And I'm really looking for, who's the next big thing and what can I co-create with them, which is really, really fun, versus, just bringing someone in as a retainer client. So there's a potency to where we're going with this that just feels really, really exciting to me. So that's what's next.
That's cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
So how do you get most of your clients? Is it like word of mouth or?
Yeah, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of sort of talk on the street about what we're doing. The other thing that really does work very well for us is we have what we do is invitation marketing. We call it hyper targeting. It is literally, I'm on the lookout for the next best thing, the next big thing, I should say. And so I have a team of people who are scouting constantly. And so my hyper targeting strategists are out looking for influencers, content creators, authors, athletes, speakers, people who are really starting to bubble to we can see that there's huge potential for them to create great commercial opportunities, but they're just not seeing the possibilities because they're in the mainstream mind frame. So what we do then is invite them in, and we've got a lot of clout. If you get an invitation or a tap on the shoulder from my team, it's usually like, yes, hell yeah. So that's really the main way, apart from referrals, that we're finding great clients. Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like you're doing purpose-driven work in what you
100%.
do?
100%. Yeah. And it's funny because I thought that in my 20s and 30s that I was the one that had to be the one that was changing the world.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, what I've realized is it's totally okay for me to be the conduit. So, where I fit into this is that I am supporting people who are literally changing the world across all sorts of different niches. And the work that I'm doing is allowing them to do their best work and get it to the most amount of people. So, it's not me, I'm not out there, literally changing the world and bringing people to a sustainable lifestyle or whatever it is. But my clients are, and the fact that I'm making them a big deal and getting them to the top of their game and getting them to a bigger audience, that is changing the world. And that is absolutely my purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love it. Well, this is the Oh Hell No podcast. And on this podcast, you always have to share an Oh Hell No moment
Mhm.
that has changed your life or taught you something, or, was just a moment where you were like, oh, hell no, this is not going to go over like this. So we want to know your Oh Hell No moment.
Well, I think apart from that one that I talked to you about before with when the investors and I just kind of had that epiphany moment that this wasn't really fun anymore.
Mhm.
Aside from that, my husband is a diplomat, and we were on posting when my kids were quite little over in Tokyo, and we were there for the big earthquake and the tsunami. Um, my
Gosh.
husband was on a plane, and long story short, I had two kids in kindergarten or and preschool, and massive earthquake. I was running a business from the other side of the world. I just really made the decision at that point in time that I wanted to be home. I love traveling. I love seeing the world and all of those things. I just wanted to be home, and I wanted to run my business from here, and I wanted to have a base. And, COVID's really actually been amazing for me. My husband's actually been home and working with me. He's working in the next room. He's been here for the last couple of years. So for me, that's a lifestyle, oh hell no. And it really was, I don't want to have 15,000 things going on and be halfway around the world. I love to travel, etc. I want to have a home base, and home is really so important to me, and didn't really appreciate it until that moment in time. So that really spurred on a lot of the changes that I was talking about with the business, and also the way that we structured our lifestyle with our kids moving forward. Yeah.
Nice. Love
Yeah.
it. Well, please, Kathryn, tell us where we can keep up with you, because you never know who's watching this show, girl, and they might need your help. So drop the tags, please. Let us know.
Oh, you're very sweet. Well, best place to find us is iconsincorporated.com. And on the website, you'll see the links to everything. You can download loads of great material there, see if it's the sort of thing for you, or if there's someone who should be iconic and isn't right now. The other thing that you can also do is we've got my social is probably a great place for us to interact as well. So I'm Kathryn, Kathryn, Porritt, Porritt. So look me up and connect and have a combo.
Awesome.